countries that are in, with a little black marker, we don't own lodges there, but we can still book itineraries for you, both in Kenya and South Africa. So we'll start with East Africa, because we don't really, as I said, we don't specialize there, but we do have a preferred partners that we will book a trip for you. And we do part own governors camps, which have been around for a very long time, and they right through Kenya. They have properties in the Laikipia Plateau, they have properties in the Masai Mara, and your entry into Kenya is through Nairobi, and we can put together an itinerary if you're interested in Kenya and East Africa. Rwanda is just the most incredible country. It's a very small country, and it's obviously really well known for the gorillas. Back in the 80s, when the movie Gorillas in the Mist was, if some of you remember that movie, it got very well known because of the gorillas, but there is so much more to do there than just in inverted commas, the gorillas. Kigali is the capital, and it is really safe, really clean, incredibly friendly people. And our lodge, Basati, is the epitome of what we now call regenerative travel. So we had sustainability, and we'll touch on our sustainability and our give back as you as clients coming to experience a safari. And then I think, especially in today's day and age, people are wanting to know that there's, even just with traveling on safari, that there's a purpose behind it, and that there's a benefit to the economy of that country, to the people of the country, and to the wildlife. And really, Basati ticks all those boxes. So this is the most luxurious 5-star lodge. We were the first 5-star lodge to be built in Basati. It's only we're going into the fourth year that it's been built and being run. Just as an aside, the country Rwanda was voted first in Africa for how they have managed the pandemic, and I believe 6th in the world. So that tells you, just how efficiently the country's run. It speaks to its safety, its cleanliness, etc. And Basati is about 2.5-3 hours drive from Kigali. And we do all of that for you. So we meet you at the airport, we pick you up, we take you. If you wanted to, go and do a market, see some of the artwork, see some of the local communities, we can do the Genocide Museum, which is very moving and poignant, but it's got a lot of history about the country. And then you would go, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. You would then go on to Basati. And the thing that sets Basati apart from other lodges as well is that it's built in this traditional Rwandan style architecture, as well as being very immersive in the Rwandan design internally. So you're getting the epitome of Rwandan architecture and culture when you visit the lodge. And then one of the projects that we started when we first bought the land was a reforestation project. So returning the the area of land that we bought, which is, it's not big, it's 47 odd hectares. But we wanted to start an initiative whereby we plant indigenous trees. And so we are attracting the smaller wildlife back into the area. And there's been a jackal that's had jackal puppies, and there's been gennet seen, and just recently there's been golden monkey seen on our property, which is a first. So, you know, they haven't been seen since 2015 or before that. So, you know, it's really exciting, and we encourage guests to take part in this project. Just sort of, you know, planting a native tree and giving back. And then obviously the gorillas is a trek, and it's run by the Volcanoes National Park and their scouts or game rangers. We obviously organize that for you, and you go to the gate of Volcanoes National Park. You're driven there, and then you would get divided up into groups. The groups used to be 8, they are now 6 people, to reduce numbers because of the pandemic. And the other important thing is that because gorillas we share 97.3% DNA with gorillas, and they can catch a lot of human diseases. So, so your COVID negative test has to be less than 48 hours. So invariably you would enter, you know, you would get one when you left your home country, and then you would require another one to actually do the gorillas. And then, so we actually have 3 lodges in Rwanda. We have Basati, and we have Magashi, and the third one, which is in the, let me get my map right, west of the park, which is Gashwati. And I won't be touching on Gashwati today because it's still in its infant phase, and it's very much it's camping. We do have long-term plans to build a lodge there as well. But east of the park, east of the country, you find this incredible savanna national park, and called Akigera National Park. And Wilderness Safaris has what we call concessions. So we lease concessions, which is an area in the country from the government. We don't own the land. We lease the land, and then we build a lodge, and we have an ecotourism model, which is, and that ties into our sustainability as well, where we do low impact with high-end luxury lodges. So we are not a mass tourism company at all. Your safari is exclusive, it's private, it's privately guided, and our lodges are really small. So the biggest lodge is only 12 units. Most of our lodges are about 8 units. So you've got this ideal opportunity to combine the gorilla experience in Basati with a savanna experience in Magashi. And again, touching on our sustainability is our we've got various research projects on at the go at Magashi, 2 of them being identifying and keeping a record of the leopards that occur there, as well as the lion population. And some of the lions are colored, and as a conservation scientist, you can go along with our head guide and go and look for the colored lions, and then you can help with the research. So you identify who's in the population, adults, juveniles, whether they've had cubs, etc. And that gives us a history of the lion populations, because they've only recently been reintroduced. They were introduced in, I think it was 2015. So we need to keep a record and do research on the numbers. And we ask our guests to obviously help us with that and become a scientist, a citizen. It's called a citizen science project. And then the reason behind Wilderness Safaris going into Magashi was to help conserve Rwanda's last protected savanna ecosystem. It's a really, it's a small national park, and then the private concessions are in the north, and they've reintroduced, as I said, lion. They've reintroduced black rhino. There's your rare and endangered African shoebill, which is the picture of the bird. Phenomenal birding, if any of you are interested in birds. So again, with the pandemic and how I think clients are generally traveling or thinking about traveling, it means you can go to just the one country and do everything in this one country, because you've got the safari experience in the east, and you've got the gorillas in the northwest. Any questions, or can I just carry on?
I don't see any in the chat, but if anybody has a question, please either type it in, or you can come on audio and ask it. Give Alison a chance to get a cup of coffee.
A cup of tea.
Sorry again for rushing you at the end of your day there, but really appreciate it. And
not at all.
I love the fact that you're going to step through the 7 countries that you do, and talking about the gorillas and everything else is just terrific.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well then,
questions, so please go ahead.
No problem at all. We can carry on. So now we're going to look at, so that was East Africa, what we refer to as East Africa. Now we're going to look at Southern Africa. And as I said, the countries are massive. The experiences are incredible, and there's lots of them. So I'm just going to touch on each country. And I think we start in Zambia. So Zambia is not well known as a safari destination, generally speaking, obviously. And I like to refer to it as wildest Africa. I think Zambia, to me, reminds me of how I think Botswana would have been 30 or 40 years ago, before all the lodges, before all the tour operators, before all the self-drives. Zambia is still very wild, very remote, and least traveled. So you have these mini migrations of herds of buffalo and zebra, but you don't have the people, the hordes that you tend to get in East Africa. So that makes it really special. Again, it's we have exclusive private concessions. So it's you and your partner or your family, and maybe 8 or 10 other people, and that's it. Those are the only people that will be driving around this massive exclusive concession. This is the lodge looking out onto the Basanga Plains, and it's an area that floods naturally in summer. So we're just coming out of the flooding season, and that's why it's a seasonal camp. So the guys carry all the stuff in at the beginning of the season by boat or by makoro, which is like a traditional dugout canoe that they row through the swamps, similar to Botswana, which I'll show you later. And they set up camp, and we open, various camps open at various times, but sort of May month. And then we're open until October, and then they take everything down again and take everything out for the summer rains. And an interesting statistics, both in Zambia and Zimbabwe, is even though the camp is seasonal, Wilderness Safaris actually runs the lodges in Zambia at a loss, believe it or not. But by just having you clients stay at the lodge, it reduces the poaching. And we've got statistics and animal numbers that have just done this since we've been in the area. And the numbers speak for themselves. So just by having a presence for 5 months of the year makes a difference to the wildlife. And one of the activities that you can do is hot air ballooning. We outsource this. Again, we would include it in your itinerary if it was something that interested you. We do hot air ballooning in Zambia. We do hot air ballooning in one of the lodges in Namibia. And we're the only operator in Botswana that offers hot air ballooning in our Vumbra Plains concession. And it really is the most spectacular experience, because the wildlife doesn't actually know what the hot air balloon is. So they'll stop and they'll look at you, and they only have to fire it, for want of a better word, at certain times, and then you just sort of glide over the Busanga Plains. It's the most incredible experience. And then what Zambia is, some people know it for, is its tree climbing lions. I don't know if you know, but lions don't generally climb trees. Your lions they're lazy cats, and they stay on the ground, and they tend to hunt prey on the ground. They don't take the prey up into the trees like a leopard. So your only big cat is a leopard that climbs trees. So these got famous because they climb trees, and they're not meant to climb trees. And the ecologists and the researchers came up with the idea that it's twofold. It's cooler. So, if you imagine the Busanga is a flat plain, and you've got these breezes. If you're higher up, if you're elevated, you're going to catch wind. And then obviously as an vantage point. So they would lie in the trees, and they would pick out antelope, and then know where they are, and then climb down and go and hunt them. So one thing that the country is known for is its tree climbing lions. What's not so well known with Zambia is the Lionscape Coalition that Wilderness Safaris joined. And this is basically a group of like-minded companies, tour operators, organizations that join together. We pay $50,000 from clients having stayed in our lodges towards the Lion Recovery Fund. And so just by staying at one of the lodges in Zambia, you are making a difference to lion conservation.
Your regenerative travel really comes in, because
yes,
a client just choosing to travel with you is leaving the place better than had they not gone at all.
100%. And it's, almost every lodge, every one of our lodges, and we have, I think, 41 of them, has a purpose behind the lodge. And then attached to that purpose is a regenerative type travel experience. Right. So we now move to actually Livingston. So that is Victoria Falls, but on the Zambia side. And should I try play a video? I'm not sure if it's going to work. Should we
Sure,
try,
we can
Sheila?
try it. If it doesn't work, I can send the link later.
Okay. So often people don't realize just how much water there is and how much it flows on the Zambia side. So this is a little video that I took 2 years ago.
It's working. Wow. Incredible.
It is. And so I often tell clients that it really depends on the time of year as to which side of the falls is better. So this is at the height of the flowing. And then on the Zambia side, it's actually better because on the Zimbabwe side, you can't actually see the falls. It's just rainforest and mist. Whereas on the Zambia side, you can actually get an idea of just how incredible the falls is. So we have a lodge on the Zambia side of the falls. So the town on the Zambia side is called Livingston, and on the Zimbabwe side is called Victoria Falls, which does cause a little bit of confusion when you talk about the falls and then you talk about the town. So this is our lodge Tokalea, which is right on the bank of the Zambezi River, and it's about 12 kilometers, so 5 miles from the falls. And again, we will include everything in your itinerary for you. All of our lodges are all inclusive, so everything's included in the rate. From your lodge hops in our wilderness air plains, to your accommodation, to your 4 meals a day, to your activities, your expert guide, alcohol, drinks, just everything is included. So that's also important to remember, because a lot of your lodges in Livingston Town and Victoria Falls Town, or your hotels, actually don't, it's like a bed and breakfast, and then they add on all your other activities. Whereas if you're fully inclusive, it's a lot easier and there are no surprises. So we hop across the bridge from Zambia into Zimbabwe now, and it's really easy access, either through Victoria Falls, the town, or Harare Airport. So wilderness safaris, we own our own bush charter company called Wilderness Air, and as a client, we will fly you from lodge to lodge. And again, it's all under one umbrella, and it's really easy for you, and it's easy for Sheila, because you're dealing with one operator, and putting together the itinerary just makes so much more sense. So again, Zimbabwe is not that well-known safari destination generally. It's excellent value for money because of that, and it really is a phenomenal safari experience. We operate out of two concession areas. So one in the north, which is called Mana Pools, and there's Mana Pools National Park, and we have 5 miles of private river frontage, right on the Zambezi River, and you have these incredible different habitats. So if you think of different people live in different types of accommodation. So Sheila might live in a house, I might live in a flat, Karen, you might live in a complex. Animals also look for and have different types of accommodation, or habitats as we call them. And so the more habitats that you can have in your concession, the greater the variety of animals that you attract. So Mana Pools has these floodplains, which are very, very rich alluvial soils. We have forest thicket. We have these anapods, which with trees that have pods in August, September, and they're nutrient rich. So we have eland coming into the camp, we have elephant coming into the camp. None of our camps are fenced, so you and the animals have right of way because we're visiting them. It's their habitat, so they have right of way. But they really chill. They come through camp and they feed off the trees. And I was sitting in the room with a view, which is the loo, and I had an elephant walk right past me, and I was like, okay, I'll stay here for a little bit longer. So there's nothing orchestrated. There's nothing. It's really authentic safari experience, and this happens in all of the countries that we operate in. So that's Mana. Different national park, Hwange National Park. Phenomenal wildlife. It has one of the densest concentrations of elephant and buffalo in Africa. It's an all year round destination. And this is a photo I took in Hwange. An adult cheetah had killed an impala, and this is her juvenile. And so in our concession, so there's Hwange National Park, which is the national park that can self-drive and have visitors. We have two concessions that are alongside the national park. There's no fence, but we can go into the national park. You as clients can go into the national park if there's something to see in the national park. But clients from the national park can't come into our private concession. So, and part of the private concession is Ngamu Plains, which is like, it's this sort of little Serengeti, and it teems with wildlife in summer. Short green grasses, you have antelope that give birth, impala in their hundreds, thousands, and where you have prey, you are going to have predators. So hence me saying it's an all-round, all year round destination. And then one of our lodges, Little Makololo, has, well, a lot of the lodges have water holes just a short distance away from the lodge. And in winter, which is our dry season, animals then flock to these water holes, and they know where the water holes are because they've been there for years and years and years. And so they flock to these water holes, and you get these incredible concentrations of wildlife at the water hole. And most of the water holes have what we call a hide, or I think you refer to it as a blind, where you can sit inside something and watch wildlife. So, that can even be an activity. At this very water hole, I was in the blind, and elephant come down. And the animals are so clever. They come down to, they almost, elephant can't run, but they do their best, and they like lope down to the water, and and then they'll, the babies will like churn up the water, and they spray mud, and they play around, and they bath, and they do their thing, and then they move around the waterhole, and they come right to the blind, and they drink the fresh water because they know that's where it's pumped up out of the ground. So I was literally 7 feet away from a wild elephant. And it is one of my favorite experiences in Zimbabwe, is to go to Little Makalolo and to go to that hide. You could sit there for hours and watch the wildlife. It's really a phenomenal experience. Something else that we offer for clients is Wilderness Safari supports, again, going to what Sheila said about our regenerative travel, making a difference. We support the Scorpions Anti-Poaching Unit, and they are based at Wekau, which is their camp. And they patrol the eastern fence line, removing snares, which are these awful wire traps that are used to poach animals. And they're also a very important force in the communities, because we have, they build up a relationship with people in the communities that then feed them information about other community members doing illegal things. So what I mentioned about Zambia and our influence by having you, the client, stay at our lodge makes a difference. Again, same principle in Zimbabwe, where you can then go to the anti-poaching unit if you want to, meet the guys that patrol daily, protect the wildlife, learn about how they look for snares, how they will do observation posts where they listen for dogs, because some poachers will come in with dogs and hunt with dogs. So it's a really interesting, fascinating activity that clients can do in our concession. Next country.
May I just ask a quick question about Zimbabwe? And you may be covering this later, Alison, when you talk about sustainability, but you have a really unique project in Zimbabwe, right? The glass recycling.
So yes, Sheila, and I can talk to that. I didn't put it in this presentation because there's so much.
There's so much, and I only gave you an hour, and we've already cut into that. But if you have a little bit of time to run over the hour, I'd appreciate it. But
yes, absolutely.
Give a quick summary.
Yes,
because it's all about your sustainability and helping the communities where you are, which is what I love. Yes.
So what Sheila's referring to is another activity that you can do when you stay in Hwange is you can go and do a community visit, and we will take you. We drive you to the community. One of the communities we visit is in Gamu community. Excuse me, and you'll meet the chief. So he's like the headman of the tribe. They will take you through their village, so you get a hands-on experience of what it's like to live, remotely, and the challenges that they face. And we've assisted the communities that surround our lodges with a number of various different projects, and one of them that started 3 years ago now, 2018, was glass recycling. So obviously you come to the camp and we have these phenomenal G&Ts, gin and tonics, as a sundowner, and we've got the glass. Now what do we do with the glass? Because the lodges are so remote, some of the towns don't yet have recycling. It's not a third world country phenomenon to have recycling. So we have this glass, what do we do with it? And we chatted to the communities, and there were 14 guys They didn't have any employment. They said, no, well, we can use glass. If we have a crusher, we can substitute very finely crushed glass for sand and part of it. So they make cement blocks out of the crushed glass. And these cement blocks are sold to the locals to build houses and also to the lodges to build structures. So that's one way they utilize the glass. And then just recently we built them a little urn. If you imagine a pizza oven, we built that. It's in the middle of nowhere. I wish I had taken a photo of it because I visited it also 2 years ago. It's in the middle of nowhere, and that's where they crush the glass. So they've got their glass crusher there, and then this urn, and they heat up the glass. And the ladies now are making jewelry. So they make beads, and they make jewelry out of this recycled glass, and they're selling that jewelry to to visitors. They have a market in town where they sell their wares as well. So it's phenomenal. And they've part of the condition with this new enterprise is that one child has to go to school as from the women, because we are very, very in touch with the result of somebody being educated to somebody then understanding why we need tourism, why we don't want to poach, why we need sustainability. So the more educated somebody is, the more likely they are to understand and then adopt those principles. So we want children to be educated, and then so the community takes a percentage of the profits, and school fees are taken as part of the agreement, if you like.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Sure. So next country, Namibia. And Namibia, we've got Namibia, and then we've got Botswana, and then I'll just touch on South Africa. So 2 more countries. Namibia is vast. It is, I can't describe to you how big the country is. And so I'm often asked, well, where should I go in Namibia? And they're very different. The regions offer very different things. So I always ask clients, what would you like to see? And what I've done very, very broadly is divide the country into 4. I think there are 14 regions, but just for the sake of today, we'll have 4 big regions. And also there's a lot of wildlife. It's definitely got the most incredible wildlife, but they are desert adapted. And because it's a desert, some places it's a true desert. Some places get 4 millimeters of rain a year. So when you think, how on earth do animals survive? But they're adapted. So there's not a lot of vegetation. So they are very spread out. So let's look at Namibia. Right in the north is the Kouaka Veld. It's known for its remoteness. This is our lodge here, Serakafema. We also have a cultural experience here with the Himba. So they're a semi-nomadic tribe, and they have goats as their livelihood. And the goats, they follow the grazing. So if they're in the area, we will take you to go and meet them. They have an interpreter. and you can learn about a whole new tribe called the Himba. There's also the river frontage again, so that has water, attracts vegetation, which obviously attracts wildlife. So you get to see, all sorts of things. Humongous crocodiles, and elephant, giraffe, zebra, the sort of your normal wildlife. Then we move to what we call the Skeleton Coast region, and this is our highest level of accommodation, if you like, in Namibia, called Hwanib. It is 5-star luxurious camp. This is a picture of the tent. So now you start to get an idea of, it's not just glamping, it's 5-star luxury. And here we have a research center. They've been studying, all sorts of things, but the main focus is the lion population. And again, where you have communities and say they have wildlife, they have goats or domesticated animals, goats or cattle, and you have free-ranging lions, you're inevitably going to get human-wildlife conflict. And Wilderness Safaris tries very hard to mitigate this. So we have forgotten his name, but he's been there for years and years and years, and he's studied lions. Some of the lions are colored. He's written a book, and his research station and some of his students are in the camp. And if you're interested and there's a research person in camp, you can go and chat to them. We've got a library and a research center as well. And then part of one of the activities for Hwanib is you can, for a 3-night stay, it's included, you'll do a full day activity where you drive from Hwanib to the coast, and this is Skeleton Coast. You see the seal colony, you'll see Moa Bay, which has history of shipwrecks, and a museum. And then we'll have a brunch, and then you fly back, because the drive is a good 3.5-4 hours. And then you'll obviously have the activity at Skeleton Coast, and then you fly back with Wilderness Air. So it's a full day outing, but again, it's this juxtaposition of being in the desert, but there's the coast. So and a lot of your wildlife and your vegetation along the coast, the weather patterns have this breeze, which is natural rainwater that blows inland, and that's how a lot of the animals actually survive, from dew that blows in off the coast. Third region is Damaraland, and that's sort of central Namibia, characterized by these flat top mountains, broad valleys, and dry riverbeds. And one of our lodges in the Damaraland is Desert Rhino Camp. And here, again, to the sustainability or the regenerative travel that Sheila and I are so passionate about, you can actually stay at Desert Rhino Camp and go and track black rhino. We have joined, Wilderness Safaris was the first organization in the history of Namibia to partner with 3 different local communities and an NGO called Save the Rhino Foundation, or Save the Rhino Trust, sorry. So it's this group of us whose common goal is to protect this population of free-ranging black rhino. It is the only population, sorry, it's the largest population of black rhino that is on private land. Because remember, the communities own or lease the land from Namibian government. They look after the land. We're in partnership with them. And guests, yourselves, staying in camp, a percentage of the profits goes towards black rhino conservation. And then as an activity, you can go with the Save the Rhino guards. We'll drive to a certain point. You'll see, so rhinos are notched. You'll see a little notch there and a little notch there, if you look closely, at the ear. So he has a number and it's recorded. And the idea is to get every single black rhino notched and known. And then that makes the monitoring of these animals easier, because then, you know, this could be 157 or whatever, Bob. And, you know, the guides will say, okay, we saw Bob in this area today. So he's alive, he's well, and they move on to the next rhino. And because rhino poaching was so rife the last couple of years, it's really important that, you know, the rhino are seen regularly. And then the last area down south in Namibia is called Sossusvlei. And Sossusvlei is known for its red dunes. And it has Big Daddy is, I think it's the 4th tallest dune in the world. You can climb it. You can also go to these incredible dead flay areas where 1,000 years ago, there used to be a river, and because of earth shifting, tectonic plates, whatever, underground, the river stopped. So these trees sort of froze, and it's an incredible area to go and hear about the history and how nature causes these effects. Right, so that's Namibia. And then Sossusvlei is also where we do the hot air ballooning. And we are right next door to Namib National Park, which is a massive national park which we can drive into and go and look for wildlife as well. Botswana. So Botswana is our, if you like, wilderness safari's little baby, because that's where we started 38 years ago. So wilderness safari's been going for 38 years, and we started in Botswana. And I like to tell clients that it's the holy grail of safaris. There's 3 distinct regions. So the Lunyanti in the north, the Okavango Delta in the sort of not quite central, and then Kalahari Plains, or the Kalahari in the south. Access is via Maun, which is the tiny little airport, but it's the gateway to safaris. And, you know, they're probably only, and I'm exaggerating here, but they're probably only 40 cars, but they're 100 planes, because that's how you get around the Okavango Delta. This is a photo of the delta. So this is all water. And this is in the wet, in the flooding season. And so this is all, as far as you can see, there's water. And these pathways that you might be able to see are actually hippo pathways. So the hippos create these pathways, and elephants create these pathways in these swamp areas, and then other animals utilize the pathways that hippo and elephants have created. But first, let's look at the Lunyanti. So this is northern Botswana, and I would always recommend that you go to both areas. They're just so different. Again, if we think about who lives where, the Lunyanti is a river, and you have a marsh. You have the Lunyanti Marsh, you have the Lunyanti spillway, you have the Lunyanti River, and on the northern side of the river is Namibia. And so you have in dry season, which is obviously when this photo was taken, you have these migrations of elephant that move in front of your lodge, crossing the Lunyanti River. And it's an incredible sight. And everybody gets really excited when the elephants are crossing the river, because it's quite something when they move between Botswana and Namibia. And this is also the Lunyanti. This is the Lunyanti River. So 2 of our lodges are situated on this river frontage, Dumatau and King's Pool. And a different activity is you can do the Queen Sylvia barge, and you just sort of float up and down the Lunyanti River. We normally do it for sundowners. Lovely, lovely way to end an African day is the Lunyanti barge. The Delta, Okavango Delta, probably most well known, but it's got some incredible features. And I like to say it's where lions have learned to swim, because we all know lions don't generally like water. But because it's flooded for 5 months of the year, and there are islands, so it's not to say the animals disappear out of the swamps. It's just there's more water when it's flooding. So lions have had to adapt, and researchers will tell you, I mean, it's incredible. There is still exactly the same lion that you get in Zambia that climb the trees, or you get in Zimbabwe. But these lions have actually developed more powerful forequarters. So if you look at the build of the animal, you can see they're slightly more better built forequarters from wading through the swamps. So quite something. And then and we have aquatic antelope, or semi-aquatic antelope. So this is a rare sought after Sitatunga. Anybody who's been to the Delta, who's heard about the Sitatunga, wants to see one. And this antelope has adapted to go into deep water, and just the nostrils stick out to hide away from predators. And you'll see the horns are quite flat. So when it lifts its head, the horns are flat against its neck as a means to hide. And that's how they protect themselves. They go into deep waters, remembering they're crocodiles in the water, but they will go into deep waters to hide away from lion, wild dog, as a means of survival. And antelope aren't the only thing that like having their feet in water. We'll do this for you as a wow experience. We'll set up a bush brunch in the middle of the Okavango Delta floor. And we like to call it a dining on the Delta floor. It's obviously very safe. You can see how crystal clear the water is, and it's only a foot, maybe 1.5 feet deep. And it's a special experience to have that as a different place to have brunch. Just to show you 3 different examples of the level of accommodation. So this is our basic accommodation. It's all still 5-star. Here you will have an indoor shower and an outdoor shower. And this is your tent. This is called Pilo, and it's a water-based camp. And then our elevated classic lodges. This is Little Vum, also in the Okavango Delta. And then we have Premier, which is our ultra luxe 6-star accommodation. And I just chose Abu as one of the examples, just to show you the difference between the different types of accommodation. And if you're, if you're interested and you want to, you chat to Sheila and you say, well, I want to get to experience a water camp, then we would look at a Pilo or a Jacana. Just 100% what you want to experience as your holiday, as your safari. And Sheila and I will chat and communicate and put that together. The more information that you can give Sheila about what you want to experience, what you want to do, what you want to see, the more that helps us to tailor make the itinerary for you. So it's obviously about the big game, but it's also about the small stuff as well. And this is the Mokoro in the Delta that you can experience. And then finally, this is Cape Town, Table Mountain, obviously, and this is my hometown. But as a
time check, Alison, thank you. South Africa is the last country you're going to cover. We got a late start, everyone, as you know, because of the mix-up with the time. Alison, are you good for, like, say, another 5-6 minutes if we go to 11:20?
I've got nowhere to go other than chat to you, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't want to rush you on the sustainability bit, so maybe I can have you back another time and we can cover sustainability.
I've touched on the sustainability as I went through the countries.
Fair enough.
But if you'd like something deeper and more, we can definitely do another one just on sustainability.
Okay, yeah. I don't want to keep people too long and respect your time as well. Maybe if we could step through South Africa and there are a couple of questions from anyone, they can let me know and we can cover it. And if not, please let me know after the recording and I can get in touch with Alison and we can discuss your specifics. So back over to you, say another 5 minutes if that's okay, and then see if folks have a couple of questions.
It'll literally be one minute. This is the only slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was expecting you to because wax poetic about South Africa.
No, it really depends on what you want to see and what you want to experience. And as a DMC, Destination Management Company, which is what Wilderness Safaris is, we can put together anything that's in our portfolio for you. So we also have a Wilderness Safaris private journeys that's our own company that does full day tours. So, if you want to go to the penguins, we can organize that for you. If you want to do the peninsula tour, we can organize that for you. If you want to go to Robben Island, climb Table Mountain, do a wine tour, do a connoisseur wine tour in the winelands, anything you want to do as an additional add-on to your safari, we can organize that for you. We have this DMC services in Cape Town, and then we also can organize tours and different hotels in Johannesburg, as well as if you wanted to stay in Livingston or Victoria Falls, we can organize tours, day tours there for you as well.
That's awesome. Thank you. I didn't realize that was your last slide. Oh, I spoke too soon.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
If anyone has any questions while we still have Alison here from Cape Town, please, you can bring yourself back on video or audio. I know a few people had to drop off because they had another commitment at 11, and I have some others that have to drop off now in the next couple of minutes. But we can stop sharing, Alison, if that's okay. And if people want to come back on with their faces and audio, they can ask questions specifically. The one thing I'll just mention, and you just had your slide on with your logo, which I love because I love everything sustainability. It's a skimmer bird, right? So
absolutely, well done.
Mention to people the advantage of or why you chose that bird. It's because it won't live in damaged environments, right?
Well done, Sheila. Absolutely. So 100%. And it's not So Wilderness Safaris deals, my relationship is with Sheila, and we what we call B2B, so business to business. I don't take direct bookings from you ladies and gentlemen. That's where Sheila will do that, and Sheila and I then talk. So I don't generally share the logo, but it is an incredible story. Of all the logos that a company that's 38 years old could have chosen, why two birds? And as Sheila rightly says, it's the Skimmer Bird. They are not endangered. They are the next one down, rare. They're vulnerable. Their species is vulnerable, and basically because habitat, their habitat has been destroyed. So their house where they live has been destroyed. So they will only breed and reproduce in the most pristine or the best accommodation habitat that they have, where there's no human towns or cities or influence, and no pollution. And because that is what Wilderness Safaris aspires to, we want to protect those pristine ecosystems. That's why we have the two skimmer birds as our logo.
Very cool. Now, Steve sent me a message in the chat. He had to leave, but he's looking forward to the recording the last little bit. Karen just typed in, no questions. Terrific presentation. I took lots of notes. Awesome. I'll send you the recording too. Does anyone have a question they want to ask Alison directly? No? Okay, well, if that's it, terrific. If anyone has any questions and they're feeling shy about raising it in person, not a problem. Just send me a message after. Oh, Philip is noting he's looking for a general opportunity for natural photography. So we could, if someone wants to do a photography safari, we could certainly do that as well, right, Alison?
Absolutely. Yeah. And something that I didn't actually mention, which speaks directly to that, is that in certain of our lodges, we partnered 2 years ago with Olympus, and we have photographic hubs in some of the lodges, and we have Olympus cameras that you can borrow for the duration of your safari, and you get a memory stick, so you can take photos. You keep that memory stick. You obviously sadly have to give the camera back, but you get to keep the memory stick. And our guides, where the hubs are, there is place for you to download your photographs. So if you're a photographic person, most wildlife is taken in what we call RAW, which takes up a lot of memory. So there'll be place for you to download your RAW pictures. And then all of our guides, our expert guides, are trained in the cameras. And that cheetah, that juvenile cheetah that I said that I'd taken the photo of, that was with an Olympus camera. It's got a 150 mil zoom and a 2x converter. So you get a 300 mil zoom. It's got 3 or 4 different other zooms for wide angle and close up, and you get this whole bag, and it's free. There's no extra charge for that. We want you to, there's a saying, again, talking to our sustainability, take only photographs, leave only footprints. So we want you to capture your safari experience, and then you also don't have to bring a camera as well with you, which obviously takes up extra luggage and extra space.
That's awesome. So
yep,
Sita, thank you so much for the presentation. She also took copious notes, and she said it's great that she doesn't have to lug the camera equipment. So that's fantastic. I really like that. Yeah. Well, Alison, thank you so much for your time and for being so accommodating with the time mix up there with daylight savings. Really appreciate you coming in and sharing your passion. I love working with sustainability partners who have the same passion I do for protecting the environment and the people, and making sure, you know, we've been through an awful year, and we're still still dealing with it, but regenerative travel is certainly going to be the way to pull ourselves out of this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolute pleasure, Sheila. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, lovely to chat to your clients. And any questions at all, I'm just an email away. So please, Sheila, just keep in touch and let me know if anybody had any other further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Alison. Have a good evening in Cape Town.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye, everybody.